The AFC North is regarded by many as the best division in football, and the many are wrong about that, but it is still a very good division. All four teams could conceivably make the playoffs. They've all got rich histories. Most of them have good coaches, and there are some intriguing new faces in the division to spice things up. So today, we're going to be predicting the records of every single team in the AFC North for next season. Starting things off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Steelers fans would have you believe they have made massive steps this offseason by getting rid of their terrible offensive coordinator, by upgrading at the most important position on the field, by having another titillating draft and improving their lines. They may be right, but unfortunately, the rest of the division has had these improvements as well. And assuming they stay healthy, unlike last year, the Steelers will not be as fortunate. They will not scrape a 500 record again. They will see regression. For the first time in the Mike Tomlin era, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers going 8-9. I do not think Russell Wilson is the answer at quarterback. I know Justin Fields is not the answer at quarterback. I think their offensive line, despite what they added, still has some big issues. Their running backs, you can call it thunder and lightning all you want. It's a little bit more like pitter and patter. Their defense, it improved by adding Patrick Queen. I will give you that. I think having him at the linebacker position shores up their front seven. But still, at points, it felt like it was TJ Watt playing 1-on-11 out there, and I don't see that changing. The only thing which is going to change is the improvement of the offensive lines they're playing and the health of the opposing quarterbacks. By virtue of the Steelers playing where they do, I think they miss the playoffs, go 8-9. Not great, not even good. Fine.
I mean, they have a great defense. TJ Watt leads that defense, second best defensive player in the NFL. He dominates opposing offenses all on his own. And the coach that Mike Tomlin is, we know they are going to have a good defense regardless of the production they get from the quarterback position, which we saw was not great last year. And once again, I don't think it's going to be good. I don't believe in Russell Wilson at this point in his career to lead a competent offense with Arthur Smith calling plays. We'll probably see a whole lot of plays drawn up for Darnell Washington since he is their second string tight end.
Hey, Darnell Washington's an athletic freak, man. You saw he was moving that blocking sled when he got drafted. Surely that will transition to the NFL.
Maybe he surprises us and scores a lot of touchdowns as they use George Pickens as a diversion, which... Can you imagine what is going to happen this year when Russell Wilson takes way too long to throw the ball, gets sacked a couple times in a close game, maybe throws an inaccurate pass or a stupid interception, and George Pickens starts losing his mind?
George Pickens' helmet is going to be about 4 rows deep in the stands.
He's going to fight Russell Wilson at some point this year on the field. We are going to get another clip of Russell Wilson just getting screamed at by a teammate. It is going to happen.
Hey man, Russell Wilson, I don't know if you've been paying attention. He's put out a few videos of himself boxing. Most people thought, hey, he's just going to train to beat up Future. A valid thing to do by all means. I think he's actually trained to protect himself from the Steelers wide receiver room. Thankfully, they got rid of Deontay Johnson, who I'm pretty sure will have jumped Russ with Kenny Pickett's help, so... One-on-one.
That speaks to the receiver room. They lost Deontay Johnson. They don't have a proven number 2 receiver. Will Roman Wilson step in and be that guy? Potentially. It may happen. They have a solid backfield. The offensive line is what it is. I have the Steelers going 7-10. I think it's going to be the first year under Tomlin they fall below 500, largely because I just do not believe in the offensive situation.
Granted, we've been saying this is the first year they're going to be under 500 with Tomlin the past 3 years, and they've won 9 games. Watch, they're going to go 8-7 and tie week 18 or something.
See, the X factor that happens with the Steelers is that there's always injuries across the NFL that teams have to deal with that cause them to fall below 500. And Mike Tomlin raises the floor of his team higher than any other coach in the NFL, potentially. Now, they never quite get over the hump because they haven't had the quarterback.
He won a Super Bowl with Big Ben.
Yeah, but since then, they haven't had the quarterback to get it done.
You talked about Roman Wilson. I feel bad for him. He's going from one of the most well-run, well-respected organizations in college football in Michigan to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, for all intents and purposes, look like a madhouse. Speaking of madhouses, the Cleveland Browns, rolling into the year of our Lord 2024, look like a legitimate contender. Their defense is still great. They look healthy. Nick Chubb is back. Deshaun Watson is back. And I don't think Deshaun Watson is a particularly good quarterback. I don't think he is a good person by any stretch of the imagination. What I'm about to say is not some ringing endorsement of him. But at the end of the day, he was playing winning football with the Browns. He was limiting his mistakes. He did not quite have the accuracy he used to. He didn't have the arm he used to. But he was not shooting his team in the foot. He was letting everyone else around him help him carry him to victory. I think having him for an entire year is more beneficial than having Joe Flacco for stretches. We saw the highs with Joe Flacco, but we also saw the lows. We saw him perform in some of the other games, most notably the playoff game. He's not a good answer. Watson is a better quarterback than him, unfortunately. Pair that with the defense, with the best defensive player in football, with a solid linebacking core, with meaningful forces on that line, and I'm sorry, I just don't see this team losing more games than they win. I think they're going to be a representative for the playoffs. I think they're going to go 11-5-1 with a tie in Week 17 against the Miami Dolphins. They're going to sweep the Steelers. They're going to split with the Ravens. And I believe, in my heart of hearts, they're going to pressure Joe Burrow enough to sweep him too. They're going to dominate their division. They're going to go to the playoffs. And unfortunately for everyone, we are going to get Watson playoff coverage once again for the first time since his Houston days.
I feel very similarly about the Browns as I do the Steelers. They have a great defense spearheaded by the best defensive player in the NFL. They have an elite corner, talent all over the place on the defensive side. They'll have a top 3 defense this year, almost for sure. But on the offensive side of the ball, you have Nick Chubb, who is the centerpiece of your offense, coming off of a scary knee injury that we saw last year. They didn't even play on the broadcast for a reason. And you can tell me all you want that Jerry Jeudy's going to come in there and he's going to take another step in his career, or Elijah Moore, he's finally going to be what some of the hype he received earlier in his career. You can tell me it's all going to come together. I just don't believe it because I don't believe in Deshaun Watson. Over the last 3 years, he's started a total of 12 football games. Now, you might say, oh, the 1 year, kind of throw that out the window because of extenuating circumstances. Fine. He's played 12 games over the last 2 seasons. He is not reliable, whether it's due to injury or due to off-the-field issue, and that is going to happen again. He does not have the same drive he did earlier in his career to compete. He has a fully guaranteed contract that he is going to get paid no matter if he gets injured or no matter what else happens. So I think that taken into account, I don't believe in Watson. I believe heavily in other teams in the AFC, other teams in the AFC North. I think the quarterback play is going to fail them. He's not what he was when he was with the Texans earlier in his career, and I have the Browns going 7-10.
And the problem, and I'm not optimistic by any means about them either, but when you bring up Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore, that's still better than what they had as their wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3
Elijah Moore was on their team last season.
While Elijah Moore was injured and had Joe Flacco throwing him the ball, he's still going to be better in 2024. And adding Jeudy and letting Moore be that 3, it's going to be better than what they had. Like, mention them saying, oh, I don't have faith in these guys. Well, did you have faith in, God, who even was? Donovan Peoples-Jones? Do you really think they're going to be worse than him?
Well, they traded him
I'm going to be saying, do you really think they're going to be worse than that level of player? Because that was what the Browns were rolling with last year. Jeudy is an upgrade. They've still got Amari.
It's not a matter if I think they're going to be worse. It's a matter of if I think this offense is going to be able to beat some of these other teams that are better than them in the AFC North and the AFC.
Well, the offense isn't going to be what's beating these teams. It's going to be the defense which is beating them, and the running game, which, again, if you want to say Nick Chubb's going to get hurt again, fine, we can predict that. I don't think
Is he going to be the same player after another knee injury? I don't know if that's going to happen.
I think he's going to be pretty close. I don't think his play style is exactly relying on him shifting out and having these massive bursts of speed. Nick Chubb is a running back who's not going to be destroyed by not having quite the same burst. He's a power guy. Power guys still will be perfectly fine after their knees start to go a little bit, assuming it doesn't happen again. If you want to say Chubb's not as good, fine. I will knock them down if he wins, but they're going to win 11 games, in my opinion. This is a playoff team, like it or don't.
They're not a playoff.
They're a playoff team. Speaking of teams which will not be making the playoffs, though, the Cincinnati Bengals. And you can hoot and holler about Joe Burrow this, Joe Burrow's so-called receiving room. They got worse this offseason. At the end of the day, point blank period, they lost Tyler Boyd. Their tackle situation, bringing in Brown from the Patriots, is not that big of an upgrade. They did not properly utilize their draft capital. They picked a backup in the first round who is not going to be able to contribute day one, or if he is, that says a lot about 2 of the tackles who are paying a large sum of money. Their receiving room, it's Jamar Chase. And frankly, I have limited faith in anyone else. There are questions about if players want to be there or not, if players will be holding out, if players will force a trade at the deadline if things don't go well. Defensively, same thing applies. Trey Hendrickson is not happy in Cincinnati, and while he may be willing to play, having malcontention in the locker room is never a good sign. Demanding trades multiple times is never a good sign for team chemistry. I don't think he will be sufficiently motivated for any reason besides, of course, the financial ones. I don't think that defense is going to be as good as it was last year. Their running game, they lost Joe Mixon. They got worse. Their interior of the offensive line is still bad. Joe Burrow is going to have to try and force the ball to Jamar Chase 20 times a game. If you think that is the recipe to success in the NFL, hey, by all means, say they're going to win 12, 13 games. I don't care. This team is going to go 9-8. It's going to miss the playoffs. It is going to be very dysfunctional at the locker room, and it is going to ship off pieces at the trade deadline.
I believe in the Bengals because I believe in Joe Burrow and what he brings to the table as a quarterback. I do think there's potential for them to kind of take a step back and maybe not be one of those top 3 teams in the AFC that when it comes towards the end of the season that we expect them to be in the Super Bowl. I don't necessarily think that of them, but I have faith in them as a team. I think they did enough to kind of replace some pieces. They brought in Zach Moss. Chase Brown showed some minor flashes last year at running back. T. Higgins is still on the roster, and all reports indicate that he's going to be playing for the Bengals next season, even if it is on the franchise tag. So they have 2 very good receivers. They drafted Jermaine Burton, who Tyler Boyd, you said they lost him. He hasn't exactly been all that great in his later years in the NFL. So with those, and DJ Reader, obviously a massive loss on the defensive side of the ball. But as far as building momentum over their first 4 weeks, they get the Patriots week 1. In my opinion, that's an easy win. The Chiefs in Arrowhead, that's likely a loss. But then they go to, they're back home against Washington, and then they get to go to Carolina. So over their first 4 weeks, I think they're going to have an opportunity to start strong, 3-1. And if that doesn't happen, things can go downhill, but I have them going 10-7, and I have them making the playoffs.
You got on Deshaun Watson about being inconsistent, having issues with his health and off the field for good reason. Joe Burrow has the same issues in terms of injury. In his young career, he has already had 2 massive season-ending injuries. Do you really have a ton of faith in him to be healthy the entire year? Is that a guy you really want to stake your hopes and dreams in, particularly when that offensive line is still not great?
If it was an injury to his ACL or the same ACL that we've seen him injure in years past, I would answer that question with a yes, and I'd be much lower on the Bengals. But the fact that it was an odd injury to his hand, I hope that he's fully recovered from that now, and I'm not that pessimistic when it comes to that getting re-injured or something else. If it was a re-injury of something he's injured in the past, my answer would be yes, but
all I'm saying is weird injuries, if they happen once, are a lot more likely to happen again. But I'm not a big Bengals fan, so what do you expect from me? I'm a hater. On to the number 1 team of the AFC. Maybe Tristan disagrees with me. I don't think he does. It's the Baltimore Ravens. And the obvious thing that detractors will say, oh, look, they lost Patrick Queen, Lamar Jackson, maybe not that good. No more Odell. Can't pass the ball. They're going to have to readjust their offense. Doesn't matter. Defense still going to be good despite losing some pieces. Clowney hurts. I get that. Still going to be a perfectly good defense. Well above average. Probably low in top 10. You pair that with the most dominant rushing attack in football history, with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. With a Derrick Henry who will be running behind arguably the best offensive line of his career and will have his legs preserved into the playoffs thanks to not having to carry the ball 500 times like he was having to do on the Titans. With Lamar Jackson, who can still space the ball out, who can get to Zay Flowers, who can get to Mark Andrews, and of course, can devastate you on the ground. The worst Harbaugh brother is going to have a field day dissecting opposing offenses and defenses with his 2 very talented units. They've also got the best kicker in football. Their long snapper is solid. The holder I'm not overly familiar with, but I assume he's an idiot kicker, so I won't voice my opinions on him. At the end of the day, if you're saying the Ravens aren't the best team in the AFC, you're being a contrarian. They're going to win 13 games. They're going to be the 1 seed. They get the first round bye, and it's their season to lose. Will they find a way to lose it? They always do, but for the regular season, they'll be all right.
Yeah, when it comes to the regular season, they are the best team in the AFC. That is for sure. Will we be raising a few eyebrows when it comes playoff time if they can get it done in the playoffs? I think everyone will be doing that. And to speak to the Ravens backfield, I think something that hasn't been quite brought up enough is the fact that they still have Keaton Mitchell on the roster, who blew out his knee in a disgusting way last year, but he is extremely explosive, kinds of adds lightning to the thunder element of Derrick Henry when he's able to get back onto the field. So I think there's going to be a little tandem there that we haven't seen from Derrick Henry in his career, where he's primarily carrying the ball every single time. So between Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Keaton Mitchell, when he's able to get onto the field, dynamic running game. And when it comes to passing the ball and the receivers, tight end, Mark Andrews, when he played last year, he was dealing with an injury, and he missed games due to dealing with an injury. So he's, at least to start the season, he's going to be healthy. So all of that taken into consideration, I know they lost their defensive coordinator, and they lost Jadeveon Clowney, and
Patrick Queen.
They lost some pieces on defense. I know that is a factor, but they always have great defenses. Maybe it's a little worse. I think the offense, with some more continuity and adding Derrick Henry, is going to be better. So I have them going 14-3.
Yeah, we look at the Ravens. Their secondary is still going to be great. Their front seven is still going to be solid. It's going to be worse. I don't think they're going to be as good as the Browns are. I don't think they're going to be quite as good as the Steelers are. A lot closer to the Steelers than they're going to beat the Browns, though. But if you have a top 10 defense with an offense the Ravens bring to the table, particularly one which just kind of grind you away to dust, and either get their defense as much rest as possible, having nice long possessions, I'm sorry, I just don't see them winning or losing more than 4 games. They play a tough schedule. Yeah, they were the 1 seed last year for good reason. They got better. This is the best team in the AFC and maybe in all of football. But if you're still here, thank you so much. Leave a comment. Let us know what we got wrong. If the Steelers are actually going to win 12 games, if Russell Wilson's the answer, if Deshaun Watson is going to get suspended for the entire season for good cause, let us know. Like the video, share it. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next video.